Hey Vince, how are you?
Good, Tammy. How are you?
All right. Feel like no one ever asked Vince how they're going.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping I'm training everybody. It's a question I don't like.
Yeah, same. Because I don't know how to answer it.
Yeah, me neither. Exactly. What do they mean? What do they really want to know how I'm going? Or is it
Yeah, do
just a
they want
social
to?
thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it like, are you talking to the character? I mean, I guess you would have to be because that's all
Yeah,
the character's doing the
yeah,
talking here.
yeah.
Really. Like, I don't, it
But I get,
gets,
I get that behind the question is something else. It's making a connection.
yeah,
Something else goes on. Yeah,
like, hi.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, here it's different, in this group when we ask that, but in I guess standard, at work or whatnot, I just
oh yeah. Out
like
there, it's you take it for
yeah,
what it
and
is. Yeah.
I've learned to just be like, "Oh, hey," and not make a big deal about it, like because otherwise I feel like I dig deeper in by trying to make a deal of like, I don't know how to explain this, blah blah blah. So it's like, "Oh, fine.
Mm.
Fine, fine, fine."
So how are you really going?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good answer too.
I don't because like right now,
Oh yeah, right now is what I'm interested in. Yeah.
that's what I mean. That's nothing to
Mm.
say. There's a seeming action to where something looks, and all I hear are ear crickets.
Yep. Yeah. So does that how do you respond to that? Do you I mean when it happens for me, it's like, oh, I'm in my body, and then I realize, oh yes, oh, I'm feeling my shoulders, and there's a there's a kind of an orienting process happens
I
when I
don't
get.
know. Like when I just hear the ear crickets, but then it starts up to where I've got all that energy in the headspace. And I talked about that on here before, and it's interesting that I ran across a recent short from Angelo because he'd been getting questions about that because he said he had for like years like just a dull like headache like a after awakening like
Yep,
a
yep.
headache or something like that, but and he said others like have felt like energetics and this and that, and I guess he was thinking maybe it was like just a lot of freed energy that gets sent up, that we don't use anymore for thought. And so then there was like something on there of some recommendations to move energy or to ground or just some somatic work. But that's the first thing I notice. Like it's hard for me even to go into like, okay, like I could right now I could feel the feet area and all of that, but this is like very concentrated because when I stop, that's the first and most loud is all that free
Yeah, yeah.
energy in the head space. But I also am kind of like, do I need to do anything with it, It's like
Sure.
it's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's there.
So
So I
would you
don't
call it unpleasant or
know, it's just there.
neutral? Just there. Yeah.
It's just what it is. There's no way to describe it because it's not a everyday life. It's not like it was there before awakening. So I mean, it started as that a tiny like a feeling in my third eye, especially whenever that was how I could recognize openness. I think that's how I like recognized the Angelo say was like the real deal because it was just like all of a sudden I was like watching him on this in this conference, and then it just lit up like wah
Oh,
wah.
okay. Yeah.
And so then it's grown to now like the whole head space is freeing. I don't know what it is, but that's just the only thing I heard Angelo talk about. That he had gotten a lot of questions, so he was answering like his experience. Like he didn't know anything about it. He just experiences a like a dull headache or
Mm,
a feeling in his head that could almost be a migraine. And at times when I'm more um heady, I can almost feel like a dense headache. But
right.
like but right now it just feels like a lot of energy. Like it feels like see, I don't know, like energy balls. Like if you saw something, there'd be energy in this ball. Like I don't know, I don't even know what I'm talking about because I don't know the proper
Yeah, yeah.
word.
I get no. Well, there was probably well, there
But
is
it's
no
like it's
proper
in the
word. Yeah,
ball moving around,
yeah.
and then every now and then I can almost feel it leaving the top of the head. If it leaves,
Okay. Yeah,
I have no idea.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we could bring a story to it and say, oh, it sounds
Yeah.
like it's
And so
Kundalini
that's a
stuff.
yeah.
You know,
So if I
who
don't say
knows? Yeah.
anything, it's just there, and sometimes it feels intense, but it's never really a problem.
Mm.
So that's what I mean. Like I don't know. They were talking about somatic work. Angelo,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if it
They
felt
was
too
they
much,
were implying that
laying
they
down.
needed to do something with it.
Yeah, and I think that was more. That could have been more for the folks that had headaches, or
That
I don't
found it
know.
unpleasant. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I could see like if you just sometimes if you just sitting there and you're just like in natural meditation or whatever they call it, shikantaza. Because if you're just sitting there and letting attention go, it's hard for attention to go anywhere else because it's just like woo, woo, woo,
It
problem.
calls your attention there. Yeah,
But it's just like excited energy almost feels like it's going like
yeah,
woo,
yeah.
we're free. But it's like I don't like
Yep,
I'm
yep,
assuming
yep.
if I ever need to know what to do with it, then it'll just do itself.
Something will happen. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, so it's not something I've experienced, and so all I can do is make up stories about it, which
Yeah.
are unjust
That's
stories. You know. Yeah,
that's the same because it's like it doesn't. I mean, it was kind of nice hearing someone else talk about it's interesting that that came up because
it
I
is
don't ever
interesting. Yeah.
I don't seek out things to watch. Like every now and then, like I'll click on a YouTube and I go to subscriptions or it just shows me choices on my smart TV
Yep.
and I go to what calls, you know,
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
it's
I get that.
odd.
That's yeah.
Like it's not it doesn't feel like seeking. It just feels like that's what's getting turned on. Like for some reason I
Yes.
watched Paul
Yeah.
Fetterman like the other day and I thought it was hilarious. And actually like he pointed it in a different way for me that was sort of it's something kind of went I felt
It
something.
it clicked. Yeah, yeah. Good. Yeah, yeah.
And
No,
I don't
I
even
do
know what
that.
it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But it was just a different way of saying the same old thing that we all hear and know. But something I just what I think, since I keep hearing about a Spyro, maybe that it's each time we kind of come around to whatever, we're able to like let more let's go. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Well,
Or
that's a
there's
good
more
story. I
understanding
like that one.
or
Yeah.
not understanding, but I don't know what it is. So I just I just think it's what else am I going if this thing wants to watch something,
Yep.
it's I find it more interesting a lot of the time to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
all the
well,
time.
I did a similar thing, you know. It's like where my attention falls,
Yeah.
there's a recognition that it's offering itself to me, or there's none of that, you know. If it is, I'll do it. I'll watch it. I'll go there. I'll do that kind of thing out of
Yeah.
interest. Or
Yeah.
if there's no if it doesn't catch me in any way, I just go past it, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
So
I
it's
don't
like
think,
that's
it
how
doesn't,
life makes decisions for me. That's how I put it.
yeah, yeah. I guess there is kind of a little bit of a lookout for sneaky seekiness, a little bit, but I
Oh,
don't even
well, you get
look.
shown that stuff, you know,
Yeah.
you get
And I'm not
triggered
even,
if there's anything there. Yeah.
I guess even looking for it is seeking in itself, isn't it?
Well, once again, though, we're at a different level now where we talk about the
Yeah.
quality of things, you know. So what's the quality of it? Oh, if there's a sneaky thing in the back of your head that says there's something here, then okay, you go for it, you know. If there's not, if there is a if it's in the body somewhere and it's an emptiness, and then you're looking to fill it with something, then yeah, you're into seeking, you're grasping for something, and not that that's wrong. That's just telling you there's something to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I kind of like that method because I've had him on my subscriptions forever since a long
yeah,
like a
yeah.
for a year ago because Angelo mentioned him, but I never watched it because it's like I wasn't looking for anything else or looking for a
Oh,
teacher per se.
yeah, yeah.
But I
No, I
just
get
found
that.
it
Yeah,
I like that way to do it. I like how it shows you things and it's sometimes it's like, oh, like this, like Lisa Cairns, like sometimes I
yeah,
watch her and it's such a different thing where it just feels
yeah,
for the first time I can kind of get where Angelo and maybe some others had talked about like the masculine and feminine aspects of whatever because I don't know what that is, but I could almost feel it
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
because there's
get that.
something that
Yeah,
when I could just sit there and I just it just all depends because it's not like I seek out like okay I need some Lisa now.
yes, yes. It offers itself to you. Yeah.
I look at it and it's kind of neat because you don't know what yeah, so I guess I don't know what it's for.
Yeah, and it can be right or wrong too. You know, like I, I like Joan Tollefson and some of the stuff that she writes. You know, and then, and one turned up in my inbox the other day, and I started to read it, and about halfway through, I went, I don't need to read this. You know, and I just didn't finish
Yeah.
it. You know, but usually
Yeah,
I would find it attractive. So, you know, yeah, we're looking at subtle levels of intuition telling us stuff, I think.
yeah.
That's great. I like that. Yeah. I mean,
No, I feel like
I've got probably, God, I haven't counted them, but I've probably got 50 tabs open on my browser, and a lot of those are videos that have turned up that I think, oh yeah, that could be interesting. The usual thing is I'll get to the point where I'll go, oh fuck it, and just delete the lot, you know?
I do that too. That's how you know it's like,
Uh,
yeah, because I do that same thing, and I had some open tabs, and then I did what you did not too long ago. I can't even remember what it was because it doesn't even matter.
yeah.
I started looking at something, then I was like, and then I knew it wasn't open
Yes.
true truths. I knew it wasn't that, and so I'm like, nope, not that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could
Why
tell that
bother? There's too much going on to get into.
yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't coming from that space. So I guess that's one thing I've trusted is whatever that sensation in the headspace is that was like started out in that third eye area. I get a sense that because when it starts going like, woo, yeah, that energy starts picking up, then I could kind of tell
Yeah.
more that it's coming from truth. Otherwise, it's just like a dull, like feels
Yeah.
it does would feel like a little bit like yeah, you just get that feeling like no,
Yeah.
maybe a
It's like it's
like
there, but it's not turned on. Yeah.
not even a contraction, but that whatever, like you were saying, whatever intuition.
Mm. So are you doing any guiding?
No, no, I leave here in the space where I'm at now in the lower 48. I travel again back to Alaska and then I'll be out since I still have my job as of now. I'll be out there hanging out with animals.
Right. And
Yeah.
you don't have a device or you don't have a connection or
There
it's not.
is, but it's a little bit different. Um, it has changed because now that there's Starlink internet
Yes.
available, they we had it out there. It used to be, and I sort of miss it, where we didn't have anything like that. If we wanted to watch movies or anything like that, we'd have to save it on a hard drive and hook it up to our computer. But now it's like, oh, here we are streaming and getting texts. So it's just that thing where it finds you, but I've used it to watch, and join meetings when I can. So
Right.
I'll still be
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to do that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I saw recently that iPhone is hooking up to Starlink on their latest models as well. So you'll be able to get telephone calls.
yeah, I gotta tell
There is
you,
no escape.
so
Yeah.
far the visitors don't have access to anything like that. And I don't know how long that's gonna last. Like they do have their emergency stuff. They could text, but they'd do phone calls and that part, man, because we do work out there that we're dealing with like all these large brown bears and we have to treat them like dogs sometimes and we have to chase them and we're dealing with high tense situations where we're using like for me, I've always used my intuition and known when or what and never felt scared, but when you've got people around with their smartphones trying to film you, that's bad enough. But then if they're shooting lives,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
live videos, then you're trying to deal with that stuff. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. When they're watching their phone, they look like food, I suppose.
yeah, so I don't even know. But luckily the bears, they're so tolerant because people, I'm sure you've seen stuff where how folks act in national parks toward animals, they try to get selfies and whatnot,
It
but
crazy stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but I've that's been my thing out there, and that's been stuff to let go of, and a lot of lessons for me is watching because I caught, I there's a specialness around animals, and people are bad and they're doing shit, and so that's been my thing to let go of and to watch. Whew, even talking about it now, I feel a contraction in my chest
Mm.
because I watch as people interfere with bears trying to catch salmon. I watch that and they think they're not interfering with them, but I know the bears and I watch them change their behavior. And so that is a process for this to kind of be like, okay.
Yeah.
So I just sit there and sometimes I just like I watched this one bear I made special because she's older female and I watched her have a lot of litters and she was real fat and doing very well and it was such a great time watching her and then randomly she got killed and dragged up by another bear, and I was IDing her as she was getting drug up out of the water. And that was one of those things where I had to like process that. No, and I say I because it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
it seemed
Yeah.
real to me, man. I was making everything like I was like it took a couple of days, but watching, a large male kill like a 700-pound healthy female, but he drowned her out in the water. So, but watching that and then having to go somewhere and scream and cry and all the emotions come out and just feeling the sadness, the anger, it all coming out. So I've got plenty of those kind of opportunities for things hiding in here.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I'm still IDing as, or where I've hidden, a lot of pain and guilt or whatever you want to call it. Um, it happens there. And I could tell that I feel like that spiral because each year I go back, I think this is my last year. Yeah, I can't handle this shit. Then it's like I've always ran away from stuff. So it's like I keep going back and then letting go of more and more, it feels like, even though it's not, yeah, that's where yeah, each time it gets like this been, who knows what's this body mind apparatus, how the experience is going to be this time.
Mm.
Letting go and seeing where I'm projecting shit.
Yep. 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 And it seems like up there is where you get shown most of what's still there,
Well,
still in
yeah,
you.
down here I got shown from family because my sister
Yeah.
because had a lot of resentment toward me because she was here. Well, I was in Alaska. I've been there for years, and she was down here where my mom, dealing with my mom and everything else. But that's where life, life puts you where you're supposed to be. So it's not like there was a choice, but she still had that resentment. So I just had to hear it and listen and not respond and allow all that to come up and process in me. Because,
So did her resentment trigger stuff for you?
well, yeah, because she was pissed and she was crying, and I just sit there and took it,
Did you feel
not,
guilty or
not
did you
arguing
feel
with her.
protective or how did you
Oh,
respond
I
to
just
that?
let her talk. I just let her talk and then this was the last spring, but it's just been not acting, me setting in what was supposedly, I guess, is called the gap, where all the yuckiness comes up and you just feel it. And I never reacted really. I just, sometimes there was some reaction because it just happened, but I mostly just sat with what was coming up in the body and just sat with it because I guess that's what we do. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. So most of the time I just feel whatever's in the body and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, so are you seeing that that stuff, it's not really about that stuff. It's about
Oh
what
yeah, that's
triggers
what I
that.
mean. That's I just
Yeah.
the story that it's like I like the Course in Miracles because it explains a little bit to help this understand where the guilt is hidden,
Mm,
where like it's the story and it's like, oh, this is not why I'm upset. And then it's easy to like see it because even with the dog, walking the dog today, like they shouldn't have their dog off the leash. And no, it didn't. I could see in the past where I would be upset for that. I wasn't upset, but the thought I could see where
mm.
that's another place, typically where it would be, but it's not there anymore. But if the story plays out and it's like you could see where everything is at, like they shouldn't
Yep.
be doing that to the bears and it's that shouldn't. But it's like
Yep.
I know that everything should be happening because it's for this to come up and bye.
Right. So do, do you imagine that it'll ever come up again for you next time you're walking the dog, that they shouldn't
Oh,
have their dog
everything
off the
it's just
leash?
well, the thought comes, but I don't it doesn't do anything. Like I just see it, the thought. And I can
So,
see where, and all the things it's empty now, but there's some stuff that feels full, if you will, like that still feels
yep,
very full talking about the bears because that just I could feel that sensation in the chest. So I know it's not about the bears, but that's where I've hit that some of that stuff is hidden or the trigger. So I definitely know
yeah,
where
yeah.
they're at. So
So
when
what
it
I'm
comes up,
saying though is if it's the same thing or it seems like the same thing that comes back again and again, then there's something underneath that to look at. It's not about that at all. It's actually
about
never
what?
about what comes up. It's always about what's underneath it.
Well,
What
I'm assuming when you say underneath it is the sensation that I feel that I just sit there with.
but that sensation comes because of a story that you're not seeing. A story is much more subtle, right? And that story is embedded. It's not even something that you would experience in the mind unless it reveals itself. So it's a story that comes back from somewhere where either it was pre-verbal or pre-memory, or it dropped out of memory, or it got embedded in the body, kind of story. And you're just so the story is no longer required to be narrated for you to react to it, but there is a story under those sensations. Every
Yeah, I just
sensation sits on a story,
and I
but
assume
it's a
if
different
it'll
level. We're talking about
yeah.
way down now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just set with the whatever sensation and I
Yeah.
don't
So
know.
the trick is it's if sometimes all you need to do is see the sensation and recognize that there is a story. You don't have to see what the story is, and it's gone. Just the seeing of it is gone. Not not because of a logical conclusion that it needn't be there, but rather because you're seeing the emptiness of it, of that story, even though you don't know what the story is. Right?
Correct.
But if it keeps coming back, that's telling you that there's something underneath the sensation, that there's another story there, or a belief, if you like, underneath the sensation that could be looked at.
Mm.
Now, if it happens once and it goes and it never happens again, that's fine. But if it keeps coming back, that's telling you that there's something there much more tangible to be looked at.
Because the only thing I could think of that comes up, like when the people are interfering with the bears, they shouldn't be doing that. And like the bears, people shouldn't
Yeah, yeah,
interfere with
yeah.
the bears.
It's a logical story, and it's very seductive to get into it because it's obvious. It's obviously true, is the way to put it. That them interfering with the bears can lead to all sorts of dangerous situations or whatever.
Well, I don't care. No, I don't care about the people. I want the bears to feed up
Right.
because they have to feed
All
up
right.
every neighbor.
Okay. So then there's stories about the bears. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the people.
Well, so relating this back to myself, what I discovered when I was having thoughts like that, they shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that, and the various situations, circumstances brought that up for me, was I discovered a belief underneath that the world should be the way I think it should be.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then that came back again. And when I'm thinking it's, oh, that's dissolved because I've seen it, but it didn't. Well, it came back, but in a different form. This is the most recent one for me. It's been a few months now, but I discovered that not only should the world be the way I think it should be, but that my wanting the world to be, well, in this case, it was my wanting, but you can see how my wanting the world to be the way I think it should be was sitting on top of the wanting, and I found myself. Had a movie played itself of me as a 3 or 4 or 5 year old. I don't know how old I was, very young, standing in front of the fridge with my hands on my hips, shouting at my mother, saying, "I want ice cream." But here's the thing: my wanting got me ice cream. So I got trained into thinking that my wanting had power. It's really classic Feta 4 stuff. The desire. But that's what the whole idea of the world should be the way I think it should be rested on, the idea that if I wanted something hard enough, I would get it.
Mm.
And that was the first time that was just triggered by a circumstance that had nothing to do with any of that. It was somebody behaving in a way, and I found myself feeling annoyed about the way she behaved, and that's what that's what started it. That's what propelled me down that rabbit hole into that situation. So it was like it can be anything. Family is great at it. In this case, it wasn't family, but the bears certainly, or the dog walkers, or
Yeah, because
whatever.
I know like I know there's like lack. I've looked before and I know that there was like a belief in lack, but I don't know because I remember being a little thief when I was a little kid. So there was like way back then, I remember
That's how you
like
fill the lack.
in kindergarten, like
Yeah.
I remember like taking like money out of my dad's pockets,
Yep.
and stuff like that. And then it's like it's so weird because I don't know why I would have got that,
Yep, how
you
you would
know.
have even thought about it, yeah. But also the thoughts that it's okay to do that it's, or even more, that it's right, that you're
Yeah.
justified in it,
I
etc.
used to do
Yeah,
that with like, well, screw them. They don't pay me enough. And I remember like
Well, that's
taking like
later, of course, that kind of thinking.
10%. Yeah, doing that from like work, like that's so silly. Like it's so silly now. Like
Yeah, of
so I don't
course,
know.
your adult perspective is totally different to the child's perspective. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah,
And
but a
we don't
certain
have to clean that stuff out, you know. I mean, again, it's an assumption that we want to get rid of all of this stuff. But you know, if it's not causing us suffering, why bother? You don't need to. But if it keeps on showing up, then it's worth looking at.
yeah, I just do my best to sit with the yucky burning in the chest or whatever and just try not to project.
Hmm. It feels good to know you more.
Yeah, just talking about that stuff, it did cause that in the chest. But I feel like anytime you talk about something that is supposed to be in the future, you know, I feel like that causes that feeling too when you're out of this moment. And then so I guess there's a just looking at that, it's like a belief that that's going to happen. But if we're sitting here right now, whose belief is that, and
Yep.
what is that? Because all that's here right now is this. I remember years ago, before I even worked at that place, I would go there as a visitor, and I just love that place. I mean, because where else can you go and have these wild animals walking right next to you and just be in that, and you see they come back every year, so you see the same ones, and it just being out there in nature. I mean, full on and intact ecosystem, just beautiful. And then I remember being out there at one point thinking, well, this is not it either, because I felt depressed out there too. I
Mm.
felt sad. And that was one of the learning moments of my life of where I was like, wow, if I can't be like happy here, if I could feel this way here too, then it's just one of
So
those
that was where
many,
you switched from the external circumstances to internal.
one of those many times where you just recognize not this either, Nope, nope, because there's just that I just remember. I don't think it means it's just something that I do remember,
Mm.
that it's like, wow, even in to me, one of the most spectacular places. And then, of course, the more you're there, just because you see the same bears all the time, it just makes it even more sad when they get killed.
Mm.
Or you see them because they get killed in front of you too. It's not Disney. It's real life shit.
Does it not um, disturb the social idea of the worth of life and death? Do you not do you not see it? Do you not see people dying in the same way? It just happens. It's nature. It just is the way
Yeah.
things are. What about
Yeah,
your own death? Do you
for some reason it's
imagine that?
harder with animals.
Sorry?
For some reason it's harder with me with animals. With people, it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
For some
Yeah.
reason, it's been with animals. That's where I've hid, I think, a lot. And then so, but no, and with people, it's so funny because like I like the Paul Hitterman thing I was watching where he talked about when he was little, like someone dying, and then it was like, even though like there's the dead body, but it's like, nope, that's not Uncle so and so. But then there's the body.
Mm.
Missing a key thing here. If that's not him, then this is not me either, you know? Because it's like, when the body's gone, it's just like, oh, that's that shit. There it is laying there.
Yep.
Or there's
Yeah.
it is. Okay, we're putting him to rest. Nope, that's not him anymore. He's not here
Mm.
anymore. And so it's just
Yeah.
kind of like one of those things. I don't know. I guess I've never seen a person killed right in front of me. I've seen bears or animals.
Yeah. So
And
the difference is a body's a body, really obviously a body. It's no different to a bit of furniture in a way. But
yeah,
seeing it happen, that's a different story, isn't it? So you're
yeah,
actually watching the transition from life to death. There's a different thing
yeah.
there, isn't there?
Yeah, and then just watching someone that was, she was like, she would dive completely underwater, get food. She was one of the funnest bears to watch. Just watching a scene, I mean, just healthy. It was a great year. She's old. I mean, in bear world, she is old and fat and healthy, just beautiful and fun to watch. And
Mm.
then just see that, and then suddenly see her just be drug up, dead, getting drugged by another bear, which the other bear is like a pretty amazing in itself, but it's just like,
Yeah.
wow.
So
I
why did that
mean,
other bear even bother to drag it out of the water?
you know, it's just resources. Like she was around 700 pounds.
Oh, so he was going to eat it.
Oh yeah.
Right, right.
But
So
then
she was just food for
he
him.
lost
Yeah.
her to the dominant male came and took over, and so he didn't even get to feed on her. But the stories, I guess, in the past would have been I would have been in that story. And I could see the temptation because it kept trying to replay. You know how those thoughts kind of
Yeah,
start
yeah,
play? And it kept trying to replay. And there's the difference, from like way back when Tammy versus
yeah,
now
yeah,
character has lost a lot of that to where why would I sit there unless I just like to be in that sad pain? Replaying that. It's almost tempting to to replay it even now. Like I see it trying to replay, but I don't hook onto it because
mm,
then you go to that storyland of like, because instead of just seeing the thought flash of like him with her, and then you could see where it tries to go to what bear it is, and oh my God, she was so big. Oh God, and go and just
yeah, yeah. In
route.
the details, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't do that anymore.
So,
But
did
I
you recognise different feelings towards him and other feelings towards her, now dead, and him? Right?
uh
Was there feelings of
no, but
anger or resentment?
a lot of other people were. The anger came up in me.
It was about the
It, it,
people,
don't- it wasn't associated with anything, I don't think, because the story brought up something because it was sad, and then I didn't play the story for that and also with him, it didn't change anything because he's a bear doing bear things. I mean,
right?
the human character has been mad at a bear before for killing a cub, but also at the same time recognizing it's instinctual, but
Yeah,
that reaction, be like, no. But then it's like, this is what happens. It's just,
yeah, yeah. So recognise that there's underlying stories about a cub being young and innocent,
Exactly.
and all of that stuff. Yeah, so tricky,
But
tricky
then the same
stories.
feeling with the older bear is still the same yucky feeling that comes up, so it doesn't matter what the storyline is. I
So
mean,
all of the animals have an innocence about them, eh?
yeah. I mean, I even like feel bummed if I accidentally kill a spider when I'm putting it out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, I
But I
understand that.
also was like, I had the thing before when I looked at a spider and knew that I loved that spider as much as I could love any human.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know
It's
what.
crazy stuff. Yeah, I feel the same way, yet I don't hesitate to step on a cockroach.
See, I don't think I would even do that, but that's just the funny thing is like as I never and remember when I had that feeling of staring, looking at that spider, and I just felt so much love for it. There was only one person I could kind of tell that she might kind of understand, but even then, I don't think she did because that love felt like,
Yes, it wasn't a love for the spider as much as a
yeah, big
a propulsion into every
like
huge
a
love.
real
Yeah, yeah, I get
thing
that.
of big love or
Yeah.
whatever you call it. But it was because I don't feel that way now. Like now, if I look at a spider, I don't have that. So I think that was just some kind of phenomena of like seeing like something I don't know.
Mm.
But it's like, just
So here's an interesting one. Our dog is now 11, and that's getting pretty old for that breed of dog, you know. Yet she still behaves like a puppy. But when I stroke her, which I frequently do, she likes getting that happening, so she comes and asks for it. I feel lumps and things that happen on an older dog, that
yep,
little growths and that. And I know that the time is going to come, and I've told her since she was a pup that if she gets sick, it's time to go. There's no, I'm not going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get her an extra 6 months of life or anything like that. The moment
yeah,
she
your
tells
benefit,
me
just your
she's in
benefit.
pain, and this is
Yeah,
my story, the moment she tells me she's in pain, we'll take her to the vet and get her put down.
right.
And how do I feel about that? Of course, my wife and I, we love this animal. We really do. She's a beautiful animal. It evokes a wonderful feeling in us to be with her and so on. Yet that's what will happen. And there'll
Yeah.
be sadness, but not grief. Yet it's how easy is it? Do I feel guilty if it's easy, or do I have to make a big deal and make it hard to not feel guilty, etc.? It's a wonderful opportunity to experience this kind of stuff.
Yeah, my mom's dog is still here with us at my sister's and she's like 15 or 16.
Yep,
She still goes on walks. She runs around like crazy, so I'm just enjoying every second of it that I have.
yep, yep. It could end quickly, but yeah, who knows? Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
'cause
Yeah,
she
yeah.
acts like she's like six, 5 or 6.
Yeah. Ours too. Yeah, yeah. Runs, loves chasing the ball, etc. Yeah. Yet I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't even think about. Well, I do think about it from time to time. Swatting a mosquito if it lands on me,
Yeah,
or killing a fly if it's on the bench where I'm preparing food. So it's kind of like I've got this double standard. I value life, etc. Yet I'm quite happy to kill certain things. And the story that I use to justify it is it's like, well, it's just survival of the fittest kind of thing. It's just the animal in me that says, you know, you're whatever. And I still eat meat. I still eat dead animals.
yeah.
Um, so it's interesting, isn't it? Like how
It
complex are we?
because I
Yeah,
don't kill anything anymore. Like I not on purpose, but I do eat, I do eat meat and vegetables because that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
No, but oh look, here's the old girl right now.
yeah, yeah. You can see the white around her face. Yeah.
Got a
So,
white head.
so what do you think about although you don't kill the cow, but you're happy to eat a cow that somebody else has killed? And same thing with the vegetables that get
Um,
ripped out of the garden
yeah, I
prematurely. They're not old,
I would
they're in
probably
their
starve
prime.
if I had to do it myself.
Yeah. So do you find you have to justify to yourself, or does it just
No,
the way it
no.
is? Yeah.
I found out when I grew vegetables, the guilt I felt, there was guilt at first for eating the vegetables that I grew. And so
Well,
I just,
ripping them out of the ground in their prime.
yeah, there's just no difference really to me. It's like it's all alive. We have to, that's the way it is
Yeah, you
in this,
couldn't be alive if you didn't. That's it.
yeah, in this
Yeah.
dream. Like that's the weird part of this dream is like something has to eat something else to
Yeah.
survive.
Yeah. So is it's so when the dominant male kills the fat female bear and has a really good feast out of it
Yeah.
and probably feeds more than himself, would he
It fed,
would he,
yeah, it fed the birds and the bugs and the fly, the worms
yeah,
and little
yeah,
whatever could sneak in on him. But that not a bit of it was wasted. She did not just
yeah,
die
yeah.
rot.
And you can see
That
how
would have been
it's a
that would
full
have been
circle,
fine.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like when I like I was trying to tell someone, I was like, when I die, don't even spend money on a stupid coffin. I was like,
Yeah,
just throw me out in the woods. But can't do that. It's illegal. But it's like,
yeah,
how stupid is that we have to make a big production and buy some kind of weird thing that we don't, at least let the worms have you.
mm,
Just throw them in a cardboard box if it's possible, or burn it, I guess. I don't know. I don't really care.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, well, I do a bit of side work in the funeral industry, and cremation is the way that it's happening mostly now because of financial reasons more than
Uh,
anything else. It's
yeah,
the
well, why
cheapest
would
way to do it. Yeah.
one of the stupidest thing is spending so much money on a dead body. The second most stupid thing is probably spending too much money on a marriage, getting married.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. And the 30 or $40,000 on a marriage that lasts for 5 years, and then we do
That
it all over again.
that just shows you this whole whatever this is that we're in, this simulation or whatever, it's so ridiculous. It's just
Yeah,
so ridiculous. And then
it's laughable though.
it
I
it
mean,
start yeah, it's become a lot more laughable.
yeah,
Yeah. Oof.
phew, yeah.
Let me
For
shut my
some of
door.
us, yeah.
Get ready to be a lot of noise in here.
Hmm. So Bianca, you're not quite up to laughing at it yet? Life, the ridiculousness of it.
It's a sick joke.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
And sometimes just sick.
But interesting is that the joke is kind of the unexpected or unexplainable. The unexplainable is like the unexpected in a weird way. And so for me, there's a frequent reminders of the unexplainable nature of it, just the ridiculous behaviors, the illogical stuff. Um, I mean, there's no absolutely zero logic to what's going on in the world with all of the wars and stuff that's going on with our friend Donald Trump. There's just no logic. It's yet they think it's logical, but that's weird, isn't it? It's crazy stuff. So there's a joke there in the fact that it's unexplainable. So for those people who never get surprised by that, do you think they might take it all a lot more seriously? I don't know, just what came up. I wonder if.
Well, the people on social media seem to be taking it seriously. I can't. Like both sides of it. I just, it's so extreme to me that it's like, I don't even know how to take a position because I can't even, I just don't even bother. The one thing I did is I watched a short clip of Saturday Night Live, and that was kind of funny because they were mocking the whole Trump thing, and that's about the most because it just doesn't like, and I don't even try to make sense of it because I can't. It seems so bizarre, like, living in the United States. We've always, Mexico and Canada. Maybe I was just naive, but I'd screw up like, okay, especially Canada. I just can't. I'm like, I don't even know
Yeah,
how to.
yeah, I get it. I
It
get it.
just seems
I said to my
so.
wife the other day, I said, if before this happened they made a movie about this, it
Yeah,
wouldn't get anywhere because it wouldn't be credible.
no. And it doesn't, it seems so fake to me. I honestly, that like I can't even get angry. And I look at I see myself when I go through social media, I catch, I'm looking and I'm like, I'm more triggered by some of the people that are just
Who
fucking
take it
true.
seriously?
And I'm just like, and then I got the other side of people just losing their mind and protesting. And I just like, I can't, that just, like, why? I don't feel like,
Mm.
yeah, I just, yeah,
Yeah, we
it
watched
just,
on TV yesterday, I think it was. We watched a crowd of over 100,000 people protesting and thinking that's not going to change anything.
and it's like, so I just don't react to anybody's stuff, because I don't have a reaction mostly. I mean, maybe there's a little thought, a little tinge, but nothing really. I think that's stuff that has fallen away.
Yeah,
Maybe in the past I would have, but I don't know. I'm happy to not be there with
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But it
Well,
does. It
also there's a
like a big dream. It does. This, if anything, this doesn't seem real at all. That part of it.
yeah.
Maybe because I'm not being deported or whatever.
Oh well, that would, yeah. Who knows? That would be a different story, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, my with my job, it feels like it's constantly, him pulling funding on everything. Who knows? But I don't, it'll be whatever it is because there's just stuff I can't be bothered anymore worrying about it.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah, it'll
finding
be
it,
what it'll be, regardless of whether you worry about it or not.
yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't, yeah, I'm just,
Yeah, I'm surprised that you're not seen as wasted money. Maybe your turn will
oh,
come. Who knows? Yeah.
yeah, like I know a lot of the supporters think that those lands should be open to everything. They want to develop, kill all the animals. They don't see a use for it.
Mm,
And that's the things where I have to like, because there are a lot of people, especially in Alaska. It's a big red state and it's very pro hunting everything just because they're killing all the animals we eat.
mm.
It's insane. And so if they had their way, they would wipe them out like they did in the lower 48 states. There's
Yep.
no need for there's no need for a wolf
Mm.
competition
Well,
for human.
they say there's no need for a wolf, yeah, but then they realise
They
when they put
honestly
them.
believe that. They
Well,
wholeheartedly believe that. And that's one of the things where I have to kind of remember, like, okay, it's the way I see the world, it's completely different. And that's how
yeah,
you
yeah,
know it's so bizarre because it's like I can't even imagine just being humans and buildings. That to
yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah. Well, we've got the same thing here in Australia, but like, okay, the they put wolves back into Yellowstone a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden the degradation reversed itself, and it became good because the wolves kept the deer away from all of the creek banks and stuff.
yeah.
Um, So that balance was really important, they discovered. But only half the world sees that as a good thing. The other half of
Right.
the world has a totally different attitude about it. So we're having an election here in a couple of weeks, a federal election, and the Conservative Party refused to acknowledge climate change. And so it's all about the cost of everything. It's all about finance. Right? The other side, well, they kind of pay lip service to climate change, but and so whatever. But it's all about getting votes, regardless. But it is this whole system divides our country, and yours is the same, 50-50. You know, this election, like every other election, will go down 49% to 51%, which one
Yeah.
way or the other. It'll always be so. So the whole country gets divided in half, and you've got half the country who feel the opposite to the other half of the country. It's crazy. Total rubbish.
It just like puts the whole dream of duality, it just stands out like sore thumb. Like this is
Absolutely. Yeah. Makes it a
you can
big
see
thing.
where it
Yeah.
just dividing and subdividing, dividing, subdividing, and everything is just like
Yep. Yeah.
that's where I'm.
Crazy, crazy.
The only thing there is to do is just keep on.
But the value of it is recognizing that duality in ourself when it appears, you know, that so if I feel I belong to one side, right, I'm creating the other side.
Yeah, yeah. There's that. That's where I'm trying to like. Well, I'm not trying. Okay, that's yeah. There's a noticing. That's where I've might want another biggest thing. Like I did take some people off my social media that would post pictures of them with like a bunch of dead animals. You know, I'm like, okay, I know that bothers me and I know that whatever, but I don't
Yep.
have to look at it, you know. I know it's
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
feel like, okay, they see that, they're not wrong,
Well, you know, like I
but in their
see,
mind, they're 100% right, you know, because that's their
sure, yeah,
perception.
yeah. So I have a picture in my head of Donald Trump's son taking a selfie over a dead elephant or a dead giraffe. I forget what it was now. And that story is so seductive, how wrong that is.
Yeah.
And if it was over a dead pig or a dead cow, it wouldn't be nearly as big a story as what it is over a
Yeah,
dead
the more exotic
giraffe.
the animal, the bigger the
Yeah,
story.
yeah. And yet I can't find it in me to say that's right.
Yeah.
I still see it as wrong,
That's
although I
because where
recognise, yeah,
the dream is still playing, it seems. So, because I don't see it as being right either, but um that's I don't this dream character can't see as long as I'm seeing things from this perspective, I suppose I will see right and wrong because I can't
yeah.
this is all this apparatus is still I don't see how it can't
Well,
until
there is a
I
way,
don't
there is a
it's
way, and that is something along the lines of while ever I see something as right, I actually create the wrong, the opposite side of that. And right and eventually it won't be that the wrong is right or the right is wrong. It'll be that it's irrelevant. It just is what it is.
that's yeah. See, it looks like there's something to look forward to. This whole thing gets so yeah, it's so convoluted because it's like, you know, that's saying that there appears to be work to be done, but
Yeah, yeah, but this is an important one. That's something to look forward to. There's two ways. You know, back when we were a seeker, that would become an obsessive thing we grasped, we were chasing and looking to grab a hold of. Right? Post waking up, it's like, okay, I'm just an adventurer and I'm in circumstances where I'll discover things because they'll pop up in front of me. So although I recognise there's a story there that one day maybe it'll be there'll be no judgment about right or wrong.
Um,
It'll happen or not. Yeah, go on.
I just thought that I don't use the word wrong, but sickening. Some things are sickening to me. It's a reaction.
Mm.
It's like if I'm in a dirty, dirty kitchen, it's so dirty, it's sickening. Of course, I want to clean it.
I'll bet you can find things that don't give you a sickening response that are just as sickening as the things that do. But somehow you've become, I can't think of the right word, inured. You're a non-responsive to some things, right? If you see somebody slitting the throat of a cow, that could be pretty sickening. But yet when you eat that dead cow, it's probably not sickening.
Well, I saw only once killing of a hen when I was on a country and as a child. I'm not a small child, like early teens. And my first thought was, wow, if I could wish for a way I will die, I would like to die like this. It was so quick.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
decapitated.
right, yeah.
So, well, who is to decide what is sickening for me and what is not?
Yes, that's right. Those things just happen.
So is it just seeing and recognizing, like, oh, look, just because you're just aware of the character and the preferences. A lot of times it's just the seeing for things to kind of slowly let go, or do you really? This is where, yeah, I think I got,
Well, it's like if we're going to be revolted by something, there's definitely physical contractions happen, and with that is a really narrowing of focus, right? So when we feel, I mean, what Bianca's experienced as a teenager was a very wide perspective, right? Because seeing that animal get decapitated spread to her own possibility of death, and what a great way to die, because she had a very wide perspective on the whole thing. If she was revolted by it, it would be a very narrow perspective. It would just be that story about that particular thing. So in a sense, a lot of what we're learning here is what came naturally for Bianca, and that is to have a very open perspective, very wide perspective on things, seeing things from a distance, so to speak, and that allows us to take in a lot more of the circumstances that surround it, and therefore have a much wiser uh, perspective on what happens.
I think
So it's
I
it's
got
like when you, sorry.
I got contracted, and I think it was whenever I mentioned in the future of like seeing things um the same instead of seeing right and wrong, that I'm not there yet. And that I think hit something of like a contraction, maybe that there's something to do or I'm not there,
Yeah, or what might happen to you.
or just that I'm not awake enough or
Oh,
something.
that's a funny one. Um,
They something like that because I'm not seeing things as the same. I'm still making judgments, or there's judgments happening. I guess
yeah.
it's a
Okay,
matter.
so to objectify that, that's partly what that wider perspective is about. And I guess I have a story that says any contraction is a protective response. And what am I protecting? And
Yeah.
it's not a case of recognizing that there's nothing to protect. There's a case of recognizing that it did happen. And so consequently, that reveals the fact that there's a belief there that there is something to protect. So any contraction is a protection. That's the lead in that I would use to say what's there. And of course, to say then, to jump up into the mind and say then, well, of course there's nothing here to protect, therefore I don't need to feel that, is just a way of avoiding it. Whereas if I go, it did happen, oh, isn't it interesting? I wonder what's underneath that. What is the belief that produced this protective response, this contraction?
It's interesting, like this waking dream and the night dreams are so similar, and the fact that it feels like you're always trying to get somewhere or do something, like it has that same tone feeling
Yep.
to it, like dream, like I can't find this. I remember dreams of
Yeah.
being lost and or trying to find something or wanting more of something, and it just has that same, it's all the same, it's all thought, yeah, I guess.
Mm,
I just recognize that tone as the same as in the dreams where it's like where I can't remember, where I forgot to feed the fish and I've never even owned fish, okay?
mm,
It's like I
mm.
forgot to feed it, this and oh my God, and it's the same, it's all the
Yeah.
same.
It would seem the theme of a lot of dreams is
Yeah.
that idea that there's something wrong is a way to put it, I suppose. Um, yeah. But they can tell us stuff if we don't get too sucked into the content of the story, just what it's about. You know, I had an afternoon nap well, last week sometime, and I remember I had a dream that I couldn't reach the brake pedal in the car. It was further away than the length of my leg, and as I tried to get closer, the steering wheel stopped me from reaching the brake, and nobody got hurt, but at the same time there was this thing, and I recognised really clearly, that there's still an issue of control here that my dream was telling me about.
Mm.
It didn't make me go chasing anything. It didn't make me want to find out about it. It was just oh, isn't that interesting? That's still there's still enough of that for me to dream about it.
Yeah.
And I guess the story was that my dream was telling me something. So there you go. So it's still stories. They're everywhere. Can't get away from stories.
Before I forget, I wanted to ask about hours. Has this meeting started hour ago? Oh,
Um, it's yes, just an hour and 11 minutes ago.
okay.
Yes,
So,
yeah,
so I
we
have
just
my time right.
yes, Australia went into out of daylight saving at 3 a.m. this morning. No, yeah, no, last night. Anyway, yeah, I think a day ago. Mm. So that really changes things. I think it's 2 hours difference between Europe going into daylight saving and Australia coming out of daylight saving. So now it's 2 hours earlier. Oh God, it's a mind boggle for me. I got around it. Somebody suggested I do it, and it was a wonderful thought. And I went and on the front page of my website, I put counters to the next meeting. So you don't have to know about time zones. You just go there and look, and it'll tell you how many hours to the next meeting, or how many days and hours. And then you don't have to worry about what your time zone is or what my time zone is. It's going to be accurate to the minute when the next meeting is.
I just saved your time in my world clock on my iPhone.
Yeah,
So you put like it's whatever your time at 7 a.m. So I just compared it to what time it was here.
yeah, yeah. So some things will do an automatic thing. I notice in my calendar if I put, if something's attached to New York time or London time, if I put that, it still tells me what the local time is for it. So that's good. Yeah. A lot of people have the technology but don't use it.
I was thinking about this, uh, you know, how Marius is starting up, and do you see? And why is it triggering for me?
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
stories from my childhood came when there was really an object. And once it was during uh, how was it called? Military, you know, the beginning of 80s. And we were driving, our whole family, in a car. And my dad said to me and my sister, uh, the first one who spots a tank will get the candy. And I couldn't see this tank. I was looking around. Where is the tank? How can you miss a tank? But I did.
Mm,
I couldn't see it. And this is so stupid. Oh, when we were walking through a forest, and uh, there was a bird sitting on the ground on a nest, and it was a kind like a quail or partridge. So, and on the ground, it was very hard to see. And they were showing me, hey, here, there is a bird. You know, don't go near it. Yeah. And I couldn't see it.
mm. They have good camouflage though, the ground nesting ones. Yeah.
Yeah, but we could see it, my
Mm.
parents, and I couldn't. So do you see it's like a starting a test, an exam?
I missed that, sorry.
It's it's like an exam for me. Do you see taking an exam? Okay.
Uh, I'm getting deaf and I'm hearing sound, but I'm not
Taking
making out the
like
word.
it's like taking a test.
Taking a test on exam, yes, got it. Yep, yep.
Do you see?
Mm.
Oh, like when I was I was getting my glasses. And also, can you see the letter?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So you think that when Marius says that, can you see that triggers some old reaction in you?
it's I think there's a lot of things
Mm.
um, because it's like I want to pass the exam,
Yes, yeah.
but
So
it is also
when you couldn't see the bird on the
tiring.
ground,
Mhm.
you felt there was something wrong with you. You failed that test. Yeah.
There is sometimes an urge to lie.
Yes,
Yeah, I can see it.
yeah,
I can
yeah, yeah,
totally see it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay.
And there is fighting this urge. No, you don't have to see it. Who said you have to see it?
Hmm. Yeah, so it's like, those stereograms that you sometimes see on your computer, and it's just a image full of dots. And if you look at it in a certain way, something will emerge out of it. There will be some animal or something that you will see quite clearly once you see it. It's a 3D image, and the animal will be in front or behind, but there will be a distinct depth to the image when you look at it in the right way. But if you don't look at it in the right way, it's just a square full of dots. And I enjoy those things, and because I look for the image in them when I see them, usually I've got fairly good at being able to change my visual apparatus in such a way that I can see it usually, not always, but I can usually see it. And yet there are those people that haven't developed their brain in such a way that they can do that. And that's what it was for you, that you couldn't see the camouflage was working for the thing, the bird on the ground. Your brain had not yet developed the ability to distinguish, but your parents did have that ability, probably because of being a lot older, they'd had a lot more experience in working out how to distinguish from the camouflage of what was there. But you took it as something was wrong with you when you didn't see it. You failed the test instead of seeing it as simply your brain not being developed to be able to do that.
Now explain how could I not see a tank in the street?
Again, it's easy. It's easy. Yeah. We all see what we expect to see. And I don't know what actually happened for you, but the good chances are that you were looking for a water tank, not a tank with tracks. I don't know. Or
No, no, no,
No?
no. I know what is a tank.
Yeah, all right.
And
Okay,
my
yeah.
father told me look for a tank, so I was expecting a tank.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's a bit tricky. I can't explain that. Have you ever seen there's been a getting around for a couple of years now. There's been a little movie of people. I forget what the actual thing is, but it's people talking in a room, right? And then when the movie finishes, it comes up and says, "Did you see the gorilla?" And you almost always will say, "No, I didn't see the gorilla." But if you look at it again when you're looking for the gorilla, you'll see the gorilla walk across the room. But but somehow they trick the mind because you don't expect to see a gorilla in that situation. You don't see it. You simply don't see it. When I put a stick in my eye from I was on a ride on a lawnmower and a stick came in, hit me in the eye, and I had to go to hospital. And when the doctor shone a bright light in my eye to see what the damage was, I could see a web of veins in my eye. You know, I could see this cobweb of orange red blood vessels in my eye. Quite clearly I could see it. And I said to the doctor, "How come I can't see that ordinarily?" And he said, "When you're a baby, your brain decides that it's totally useless for you to see that, so it simply blocks it out. You are seeing it, but your brain doesn't register it." And I went, "Wow, isn't that amazing?" And that's probably the same process that happened for you with the tank. You didn't expect it. Somehow it was out of context for you or something, and so consequently your brain just didn't register that. It was nothing to do with you as your worth. You didn't fail the test. You simply, it was the way your brain worked or didn't work, however you want to put it. Yeah. Yet did you feel inadequate as a
You
result of
know,
not seeing the tent?
it's just putting a fault on my brain. It works in a faulty way. Oh,
What I would say is
it
inappropriate
is.
is for you to feel like you failed something. For you feel that you, if you felt bad that you failed the test, that's inappropriate.
Well, you know, with all these people who do sickening things, I often find out that they just can't see what I can see.
Mm.
Yeah, if I can see, I'm stupid. If I can see a wider perspective or narrower perspective, but someone else.
Yeah, it's it's the stories that we put about ourselves that create the problems. So when we see that wider perspective, it it's much more objective. It's not personal.
Okay, but it comes to the ability to see this wider perspective.
Hmm. But it's the difference is that it's not a person that's seeing. It's a body. It's a mechanism.
Yes.
I mean, if you are born with a body that has, say, natural short-sightedness, there is no blame. How can there be blame? You didn't choose
But
that.
but still the body is defective.
Yes, that's got nothing to do with yourself. That is just the body.
Yes.
Hmm. Well, I think we'll have an early mark this morning.
Oh yeah. I
Thank
wonder if
you.
the time change affected people not coming today.
Hmm. For whatever reason, that's fine.
Yeah.
But thank you. It was a great opportunity to get to know you a lot better, Tammy. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't think there was going to be anything said.
Hmm. And I never quite know where to go with what Bianca says. I have so much trouble understanding as well, hearing what you mean. Yeah, but yeah. And I put my hearing aids in, and I've got my thingies on that put the sound right here, bone conductor, so it should bypass my deafness, and I still have trouble understanding. But yeah. Well, thank you both.
Yeah. We'll see you
No
guys later.
worries. Okay. Bye bye.
I still